This movie got like a 13% on Rotten Tomatoes. Like,
it's fine.
I can't. The critics are fucking wrong.
They're incorrect. It's fine. It's a fine movie.
It is a completely fine movie. If you like, seriously, adjust your fucking expectations, y'all. It's a goddamn rom-com with a million celebrities. Like, what do you want? Welcome to Mortified, the Friendship Quest, a podcast where two long-distance friends bounce media recommendations, all in hopes the other will like it. I'm Aaron.
And I could be Jessica, I could be Julia, I could be Jennifer, who's to say?
And this week, we celebrate the season of love with the 2010 romantic comedy, Valentine's Day. Before we exhaust the names of 24 celebrities, please remember you can help us on Mortified the Legitimacy Quest by subscribing to us on YouTube, iTunes, or Spotify, signing up for our monthly newsletter through the link in our show notes, or following us on Twitter and Tumblr at MortifiedPod. Leyla.
Aaron.
Do you think there's such a thing as having too many characters in a story?
Yes. I say tentatively. But you know what's funny? I don't think there were necessarily too many in this one.
I kind of agree. I think there were definitely some that didn't add a whole lot, but I was glad that they were there.
Right. And not to mention, this movie wasn't going for depth. It was going for feel-good neoliberal chaos, and I think it achieved that splendidly.
Oh, 100%. So, Leyla, did you see this movie? Have you ever seen this movie before, actually?
Okay, I definitely think I either saw this one or New Year's Eve, another Garry Marshall multi-celeb romp, around the time it came out. And then I definitely have seen reviews for both on YouTube recently, so I was actually weirdly fresh on the story. What about you?
So, yeah, I've seen both New Year's Eve and Valentine's Day. I did see Valentine's Day in theaters when it came out. It was a great time. I loved it then, and frankly, I loved it now. I think I have some more, I have 13 years more experience and criticism and media analysis that I can, view this film through the lens of. But I still think it kicks ass.
Listen, I had a good time. I think there's some. I think honestly, my complaints just have to do with how it aged.
Right,
but
it didn't age
otherwise,
especially well. But it was all right. It could have been so much worse.
It was very of its time, and I had a blast. Like, I think we should go back to making just like dumb, feel good, fluffy, like day in the life of a town with a bunch of celebrities no one's going to understand the character names of movies. Yeah,
we're not going to refer to these characters by their character names. It couldn't matter less. Except for one. There's a little boy who is not a celebrity. He's just going to be referred to by his character name. But, yeah, I mean, so the premise of this film, right, is that, like, on a day in Valentine's Day, right, in 2010, it's a bunch of different people. Their lives are all somehow secretly interwoven in ways that, don't become immediately clear until after the whole film has played out. And they're all on these different escalating story arcs, and, you just kind of see how they resolve, because it's Valentine's Day, it's all about love. Although I think that New Year's Eve also is similarly rom-com-y. But yeah, basically, the Mortified Season 4 format has tried to, be able to run through the plot kind of straightforwardly and talk about characters organically as they come up. That is going to be impossible for this movie because there's 21 fucking characters, and the plots are just completely all over the goddamn place. But we've broken it into several digestible arcs, which we will set up, and then we'll talk about each of the arcs' conclusions. And I think that'll be, hopefully, the most easy way to comprehend what we're about to try. If you haven't seen this movie, I think it's still going to be pretty incomprehensible, but I do think it'll be fun for us to just say things like Ashton Kutcher got shorted to $30 by a child. It's a good time.
$32. And that's
32, yes.
That's before tax also.
That's true. Okay. Do you want to start with the best friends arc, and then I'll switch off to the grandpa grandson teens arc, and then you can do football, and then I'll do plane.
Great. I love this for us. So what Aaron refers to as the best friends arc is starring Ashton Kutcher, Jennifer Garner, Jessica Alba, George Lopez, and Patrick Dempsey. In this, Ashton Kutcher starts by surprising his girlfriend, Jessica Alba, by proposing to her on the morning of Valentine's Day. Now the notes say she accepts, but Aaron, did you notice she did not actually say yes?
I didn't notice that. She allowed she allowed him to put the ring on, but she was like, wow. That's a good point. That is a good point, which is immediately the first red flag.
She did not ever say yes. I clocked that immediately. I was like, ooh, this is going to go south. The fact that she accepts, though, surprises, or so Ashton thinks, surprises Ashton's friend and coworker, George Lopez.
Do you remember George Lopez? Man, I haven't seen that motherfucker in a minute.
I used to, if you play the opening tune of Lowrider to me, all I can think about is...
Yeah, right? Because you watch Nick at Night, like I did, right?
And I fell asleep
100%.
to George Lopez. Yeah, 1,000.
Right. That is where I know him from, too, 100%.
And then, fast forward, so if that was, in the early aughts when we were falling asleep to George Lopez, fast forward about 15 years... Angie Lopez is in Undone. She's the main character's mom, so I animated Angie Lopez for a while.
Wow, that's really fun, actually.
She did a great job, by the way. Crushed it.
That's great. Okay, that makes me 3 degrees away from George Lopez. That's wild.
Yeah, I guess. I think I have a breed, maybe interaction with her Instagram or something too. So yeah, for real.
Incredible.
So the two of them run a florist service in Los Angeles, and obviously it's Valentine's Day, so it's the busiest day of the year. Jennifer Garner is an elementary school teacher and Ashton's best friend, and she's also surprised that Jessica Alba said yes. She is sleeping with Patrick Dempsey, who is a heart surgeon at a fancy hospital. Jessica Alba, Ashton Kutcher's fiance, shows up at the florist shop and she's not wearing the ring. Red flag number 2. In fact, she asks Ashton if they can keep their engagement a secret. And when Ashton, still blind to these red flags,
so bad,
goes back to their house to talk to her and give her the most special flowers he could find, she's packing her bags and the dog goes with her.
This is an unhinged reaction to not wanting to get married, I think.
No, for real. When I was watching this, I was like, is it normal? When she was like, they're talking about us having kids, blah, 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 blah. Ashton was like, yeah, 3. And it's like they'd never talked about it.
Right,
they never talked about their plans, how many kids they might want to have, what they might want to do. And I was like, you proposed, and then she had doubts, and instead of saying no, she leaves?
Right. The communication in this couple is so bad.
He was right to be mad at George Lopez for him not telling him anything.
Seriously, listen, fellas, if you have a best bro who is a little bit of an idiot, you love him, but he's dumb as hell, you kind of sometimes got to take him by the arm and say, my dude, my guy, how is your relationship holding up? Because it seems like your partner's not that into you.
Yeah, Aaron, if this ever happens to me, I trust you to bash me upside the head with a baseball bat of truth. Because holy dicks, this is a lot for Valentine's Day. Anyway,
it's bad.
Patrick Dempsey then comes into Ashton's florist shop and he orders 2 bouquets. One for Jennifer Garner, Ashton Kutcher's best friend, and one for his wife. Jennifer Garner, who's in love with this heart surgeon, Patrick Dempsey, is planning to hop on a plane to San Francisco to go see him for his surgery for Valentine's Day. And Ashton Kutcher is like, hey, actually, I just learned he's married and you should not do that. So Jennifer Garner still goes. She arrives at the hospital where Patrick Dempsey works, and the hospital secretary, because of female solidarity or something, I guess, tells her that Patrick Dempsey is celebrating his 15th anniversary at a nearby restaurant. Garner dresses up like a waitress in a hot black mini dress, and because the host is one of her son's parents, or one of the kids that she teaches parents, her students' parents, and loves her as a teacher, he lets her put on an apron and go put on a whole fucking improv show in front of Patrick Dempsey and his wife. And it is like...
It's really good. We both had the note that, like, this improvised recipe for pig testicles is incredible.
She really serves it. It's so good. And then she leaves him and his wife at their dinner. It's great. So that's the bulk of their arc. You want to talk about the grandparents and the teens?
Okay, so this arc I've titled Grandpa, Grandson, and Teens because it involves Hector Elizondo, who you'll know from, I believe, the Princess Diaries, right? That's the Anne Hathaway.
He's Joseph, and I love him.
Yeah, he's great. Shirley MacLaine, who I feel like is in a lot of movies, but she plays the grandma. Edison, who is the only non-famous person that we're going to talk about today. He's just a boy, but he's like their grandson. We have Carter Jenkins and Emma Roberts. Emma Roberts is the nanny of Edison the boy. Carter Jenkins is her boyfriend. Both of them are in high school. And also, Taylor Swift and Lautner are here for some reason.
I mean, like, Taylor Lautner is just coming off the Twilight high at this point.
I mean, right. Like, I don't think Breaking Dawn Part 2 or whatever has aired. I don't think it's over, but, like, this is right in the middle.
Eclipse hasn't even come out yet.
Yeah, okay. So, like, this is still, peak Taylor stardom. For both Swifts and Lautner, Taylor Swift doesn't get upstaged by Ye West until 2011 at the VMAs. Fun fact. But, like, yeah, so basically, Hector Elizondo and Shirley MacLaine are, they're rich people. I think Elizondo is some sort of architect, and MacLaine, she is a actress, basically. She's like a super famous movie actress, enjoying retirement with her grandson, Edison, and he's sad because it's Valentine's Day, and his mom isn't there, and, they used to make Valentines on Valentine's Day, and that's really sad. What did you think was up with the mom? Because I was like, oh, she's dead as fuck. This is what they're implying.
Oh, so again, I was really fresh on...
Oh, so you knew it was happening.
I knew that a different character was his mom. But the way the script is written, there was a moment where I was like, wait, is she dead?
They never confirm... They always frame it like they say, oh, she used to... parentheses when she was still alive and not when she was deployed. Like, it's so funny that they try to do this misdirect, but it's like, whatever, I'm here for it, fuck it. But yeah, basically, he's sad, but also he wants to send a Valentine to the girl he loves. He's like, I would say he's like in the 4th grade, it seems like.
I don't know, they're learning chemistry, so they could be really short 10th graders.
Here's the thing. They do learn chemistry at one point, which is very impressive for elementary school children, but whatever. But he's like, he wants to send this Valentine to a girl he's into. And he asks his grandparents about advice for love. He's like, oh, does your heart go really fast? And it's real cornball shit. But there is one, thing where he, like, Elizondo is talking about how he met MacLaine. And he's talking about how, like, she's been reading my mind ever since. He walked up to her one day and wanted to ask her to dinner, but he couldn't say anything. He was too nervous. And then she was like, okay, I'll meet you here at 6:30. Been reading your mind ever since. There's this line where it's like, oh, he's like, oh, and you saw this pretty girl, and the pretty girl was grandma. And he says, the pretty girl is grandma. And that works for me. That really does it for me in a major way. I'm just like, it's sincere and it's corny, but it's like really nice. And I think the resolution of this arc is very stupid. And I watched this with my partner, who is a marriage and family therapist, and does not agree with how this would have gone down. But I still think it's fun. But yeah, basically, they're having this conversation, and then Emma Roberts shows up to take Edison to school, and she So she's not like his big sister or anything. She just works for these people, and they're like talking, and she's like, "Oh, well, here's the thing. I'm gonna fuck my boyfriend today." We haven't done it before, so we figure we might as well do it, right? And her employers are like, "Well, we only have had sex with each other. That's." I know that you young people like are little sluts or whatever, but like, we good old fashioned Christians, I don't think they're Christian. Well, I've only had sex with each other. We've always been very virtuous. And then at this point, Shirley MacLaine immediately gets upset and leaves the dinner table. And it's like, well, that's going to be a conflict, I'm sure.
Yeah, I find I think everyone in this movie is implied Christian unless they loudly and for no reason tell you they are Jewish, like that one lady to the nuns.
Yes, there's a lot of people being like, I'm this ethnicity, which is not great. It's pretty bad.
Immigrants, we get the job done.
God, it is truly like, this is the era of pre-Hamilton. But like, yeah, anyway, it's revealed that Elizondo was on a business trip one time, like 30 years ago, and MacLaine slept with his business partner. And they, had this affair, and it didn't go on for long, but still... obviously that's a breach of their marriage. It's not great. He's really upset by this. He storms off to go to this like cinema cemetery thing that like they go to every year. And, they put on some of her shows or like movies she's been in. So like, that's kind of fun. But, he just goes and storms off because he's like, pretty devastated that his marriage of, 30, 40 years is not built on the soundest foundation. That's pretty tough. That's fair. Anyway, we'll deal with that in a bit. We cut to high school where we meet Taylor Swift and Lautner, who they've just been, I don't know how long they've been dating. Wikipedia says they've been dating a short time. They're just really horny. They make out a lot, but they're also like really stupid. Like that's kind of their whole bit is that Taylor Lautner's a dumb jock. He's doing hurdles in track. And he just like eats shit a couple times, and it's really funny. And then Taylor Swift does like this. She's like on the dance team, and she like does all these really, really bad dance moves. And I was like, this isn't funny to me. I don't think this is very good. And then my wife was like, well, this is actually a meta commentary about Taylor Swift because she's been criticized for being a bad dancer. So she's doing this intentionally. I was like, great. I'm glad the Swifties are eating today. That's well done. So yeah, I mean, I don't think that basically what they do, the purpose that they serve is to kind of be comic relief and also hype up Emma Roberts and is it Alex Jenkins? Carter Jenkins. Basically, there's like, here's
Alex
our sex
is
advice.
His character name. That one stuck to you.
Yes, I don't know why Alex stuck to me. He made a pretty strong impression, though, as we'll see in a bit. But yeah, I don't know that the Taylors add anything to this film, but I'm glad they were here.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed seeing them. I think Taylor Swift's entrance is great because she just like walks into the elevator with Julia Roberts with the biggest teddy bear you've ever seen in your entire life, to the point where it completely encapsulates her entire upper body.
Oh, yeah, I know. You cannot see her until she has to, like, because of the weight of the bear, set it down. And it's like, oh, there's Taylor Swift. Interesting. It's really funny.
It truly, they don't add anything. They're just there to be hot and horny. And that's the kind of flavor I want.
Honestly, truly. So anyway, so after this sex talk, Carter Jenkins is like, okay, I'm going to go back to Emma Roberts' house. I'm going to get ready so we can fuck.
This is the funniest scene in the whole movie to me.
It's really good. It's really good. He shows up, he gets into her bedroom, and he's like, okay, I've got my guitar. I'm going to play her a love song. He's in his boxer shorts, and then he takes them off, and he's hiding his dick behind his guitar, and he starts practicing, and he has this, like, really cornball song. It's like, oh, Grace, when I saw your face, make my heart race like a high-speed chase. I don't know why that stuck with me, but, it's obviously, like, a silly cornball song. But he's playing this. He's practicing his song. Her mom comes back home early. She hears someone playing guitar at her house, and she shows up, and she sees him naked, and there's this exchange where he's just like, what are you doing home? And she's just like, I live here. What are you doing here? And he's like, I'm practicing guitar. And she's like, naked? He's like, yes, thank you, of course. It's an experiment. And she's like, okay, please get out of my room. Please don't bend over. Holy shit. And like he has to like run naked. His girlfriend is pulling in. Emma Roberts is pulling in. She's like, why are you naked and running out of my house? And he's like, well, your mom showed up. And she's like, oh, what did you tell her? And he's like, I said I was practicing. And she's like, did she buy it? And he's like, well, my fear may be very convincing.
I think he said something along the lines of like, it's experimental avant-garde. Avant-garde, yeah. Oh.
It's a great sequence. That's one of like, that is one of the few scenes in this film that like actually stuck in my long-term memory because I was like, that's fun. I remembered that. It was a great time. Yeah, I mean, that's that. Also, sidebar for the boy. Edison goes to purchase flowers from Ashton Kutcher's flower shop, personally buying a dozen red roses from Ashton Kutcher. And there's a really funny line where like this kid gives him like $12, and Ashton Kutcher's like, damn, man, you shorted me. But then like the kid also asks for a receipt, and he's like, oh man, they're auditing you too. Like, man, they can't keep a good man down, huh? It's so funny. I think Ashton Kutcher's performance is like really good at this.
Honestly, this is the most charming I've ever seen Ashton Kutcher. He is just like being a little cornball, just being a little golden retriever, running around, having a good time, screaming that he's engaged. Like, it's so good. I love his performance. I also just like, I love this universe they've built where this little boy walks in this flower shop with $13. He buys a card and he wants a $55 rose arrangement. And Ashton Kutcher's just like, you know what? All right. I'm sure. No words. I know where the elementary school is. I'm gonna just humor this.
It's really nice. It is such an like. This film is like, the plot is like, you know, gossamer thin. It's barely there, you know, just like the spider web that connects everybody. That's like the plots here, but like that's all you kind of need. It's all character moments, and like, you know, when I'm thinking about storytelling and trying to make my characters endearing to people, like this is such a good moment that's like, okay, this is the kind of character that Ashton Kutcher is, right? He's a guy who's like, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna eat $30 today because this kid is just so cute. I love it. It's
Ashton
great.
Kutcher in this film is what I think the Adam Conover ripoff protagonist in the Lindsay Lohan Christmas movie we watched aspired to.
100%, right? It's just not quite as like you know, I'm everybody in that film tried their best, but like this is like genuinely charming in a way that like is very impressive for this movie. Got like a 13% on Rotten Tomatoes. Like,
it's fine.
The critics are fucking wrong.
They're incorrect. It's fine. It's a fine movie.
It is a completely fine movie. If you like, seriously, adjust your fucking expectations, y'all. It's a goddamn rom-com with a million celebrities. Like, what do you want?
It's well
This isn't
shot.
fucking Citizen Kane. Yeah.
I would argue it's actually really well art directed for what it is, because like, so there's this like weird running gag where one of Jennifer Garner's students keeps taking his shirt off for some reason.
Yes,
it's really
Franklin.
good.
This is the kid.
Yeah.
The kid that the parent of works in the restaurant.
Yes.
This is that
so
parent.
when you look at the restaurant scene, on the host stand under the glass are a bunch of pictures of Franklin taking his shirt off.
Oh, that rules! That's so fun.
And it's like, he's like, my son Franklin, and then he backs away from the stand, and you just see that little boy curly hair and his shirtless. I was like, that's a nice touch. Come on.
Like, I wish that, you know, we sometimes review bad movies on this podcast, and like, we remove movies that we want to like on this podcast, and it's like, I just wish that like for Pinocchio, right, as our most recent one that was like not great. Like, I wish that the Disney Pinocchio had like the Disney one specifically had like even a tenth of the like heart and like, you know, care that went into it that this movie did. Like, I cannot believe that I'm longing for 2010 in some ways.
Simpler times. I mean, like,
some ways.
I feel like Disney. There's this, just a quick sidebar, but there's this like documentary I guess they published about I don't know if you've seen tweets about it, the making of Frozen 2, where at the time the trailer for Frozen 2 released, they were only 22% complete, and they still didn't know what the voice that was calling Elsa. They had no idea who that was, and when Kristen Bell saw the trailer, she was like confused as to whether or not she was giving the right performance because the tone of the trailer was so different from the performance she was giving.
Wow, yeah. I remember that trailer being like weirdly like non-specific. So
yeah. But so like that's the Disney Corporation now, you know what I mean? Like it's this very like, how do we, I don't know. I think it's probably bad that they didn't plan this far ahead. Meanwhile, these people coordinated 22 of the biggest names in Hollywood in 2010. Are you fucking kidding me? That's incredible.
Right. Like, listen, this is what your shit is, right? This is why you have producers, right?
Oh, yeah. Those producers deserve a fucking Nobel Peace Prize for getting all these people situated before
Seriously.
CGI was believable enough to fake any of them, you know?
Right. But the last thing for this boy arc, basically, the flowers he buys from Ashton Kutcher don't get delivered because while George Lopez is driving, he is rear-ended by a football player that we're going to talk about here in a sec. And it breaks the car door, so like a bunch of flowers get lost, including this poor kid's flowers and car, which is really sad. So Edison goes to track down Ashton Kutcher like on his bike. He finds him at the store. He's like, "You owe me flowers, you son of a bitch!" And like Ashton Kutcher like takes it. He's like, "Oh my god, I am so sorry," and like personally gives him like the flowers he was gonna give to his fiance, who is now at this point broken up with him. He gives him that and like drives them to this party that we're going to talk about, but like this is the party that the girl he likes is at. It's great. It's good.
Yeah, which brings us to the football arc featuring Eric Dane, Jessica Biel, Jamie Foxx, Anne Hathaway, Topher Grace of that 70s show fame, and my queen, Queen Latifah. Queen Latifah in the film adaptation of Chicago, like, imprinted on me at a young age. I love Queen Latifah.
I haven't seen her around. Maybe that's just because I haven't been watching a lot of media. I hope she's doing well.
She's doing well. I think she was just in something on Netflix.
Good.
Yeah. She looks great. She did a Hot Ones interview. That went really well. So Anne Hathaway, love of my life, and Topher Grace wake up together. They've been dating for 2 weeks and apparently are very horny for each other. This movie overall, genuinely incredibly horny. Anne Hathaway's got to get to work, though, and she's, like, rushing to do it, where she's a receptionist for a talent agent. It's unclear.
I don't know.
Who's to say? And while she's at work, we find out she is also a phone sex operator because she has to cover her student loan debts in Los Angeles.
So I want to talk about phone sex operators because that joke feels a little dated in 2010.
Quite. Right?
Because, like, internet porn's been around for a long time at this point. Like, I think that probably killed the phone sex industry. I'm sure there's some, OnlyFans like exists, right? I'm sure you can get phone sex somewhere, but like, it's a silly joke.
It's a silly joke. That being said, Anne Hathaway's out there doing full character voices and prop comedy.
No, like seriously, she should be, hire her, Netflix. Like, come on, get this girl on an anime.
Yeah, for real. She was like talking about whipping one of her clients, and she had this like rubber band ball. She was it was incredible.
She's doing Foley. She can do it all. Like, come on.
Yeah, she's multi-talented. So Hathaway's boss is Queen Latifah, who is the talent agent for Eric Dane, who is a football player who is old and sucks at football. Everyone thinks he's going to retire because he's starting to suck so bad. But he's sad because his partner has apparently recently dumped him. So he rear-ends George Lopez while driving to a meeting with Queen Latifah and Jessica Biel, who is friends with Jennifer Gardner. I'm already starting to stumble over my J's.
Here it comes. Here's the J storm.
Jessica Biel is throwing an I Hate Valentine's Day dinner party like she does every year, but no one's RSVP'd so far. Jennifer Gardner tells her it'll be fine because it's LA and no one RSVPs for anything, but she herself is not going to be there because at this point she thinks she's flying to see her boyfriend.
Right.
After meeting with everyone, Eric Dane gives a press conference where he comes out as gay, and he says he's going to keep playing football.
What's the line that he says?
He says, I'm gay and I'm going to play, literally.
There we go.
Yeah.
Great. Good. Fun fact. So I assume that he's, playing for like a Los Angeles NFL team that I am not going to be able to name, but like the actual first NFL player to come out as gay came out in 2021.
Yep.
Like it is just weird to see like how this thing, which would have been, was not precedent, like didn't actually happen until extremely recently.
Well, we'll talk about something else I noticed when we get to the endings of all these arcs.
Listen, right? It's still 2010 in very many ways.
Oh yeah. Well, Jamie Foxx even says some like. So, okay, let me get through this. So, at this press conference, Jamie Foxx, we haven't talked about Jamie Foxx yet. He's here. He's been doing interviews because he's the number 2 sports guy at the Los Angeles local news station. He meets Jessica Biel. They hit it off, and he gets an invite to the I Hate Valentine's Day party. Mind you, Jamie Foxx is here because he wanted this to be his exclusive, so he could now be the number 1 sports guy at the station. At dinner, Topher Grace and Anne Hathaway get into a fight when Topher Grace learns she's been ditching him to work a phone sex line. He's just a little guy from Indiana. This is overwhelming him, and he fucks off on the street, basically.
I don't like the portrayal of how people from Indiana are a bunch of fucking idiot losers like Topher Grace.
He is from Muncie, which you seem to have some beef.
He is from Muncie, which, listen... You can't. He has an IU like pennant or flag on his like room, but he's from Muncie, which means that he actually probably went to Ball State and just wanted a better basketball team.
Ball
and
State,
you know what?
Sent me so many flyers when I was applying for school. Oh yeah,
really?
Ball State want to be bad.
Listen, you're too good for Ball State.
Thank you.
Listen, if you're an alum of Ball State, I'm sorry to dunk on your alma mater. If it's any consolation, I also hate IU, and I graduated from there. So
yeah, I hate RIT, and I graduated from there. So you're in good company.
Academia, woo!
Woo! All right, you want to talk about what goes on in my favorite place in the world, an aeroplane?
Yeah, the plane arc's really, really quick. Julia Roberts and Bradley Cooper are sitting together on an airplane. Julia Roberts is a captain in the United States Army. She's taking a super long flight back to see somebody who, Bradley Cooper immediately assumes is like a husband or a boyfriend or whatever. And he's just like, oh, that must be one lucky guy. But, they hit it off. It seems like Bradley Cooper is like hitting on her a little bit, but also, like all the stewardesses are like looking at him and like making eyes and just like, obviously like very into him.
Well, because he's 2010's heteronormative hot.
Right. I mean, he looks like oh my God, I don't know what to tell you. But like they start getting along. I think that one of my favorite lines from this was Julia Roberts being like, it's my job to read people. Like, I understand your psychology and everything. I was like, Julia, did you learn this at Guantanamo? Like, I know what you people did there. Like, you should not be using this on civilians.
It's just like Anne Hathaway, who was talking to Topher Grace when she's leaving his apartment the first time. And she's like, your neighbor thought you were gay. Don't worry, I set her straight. And I'm like, did you describe Topher Grace's dick in detail to his poor neighbor while you were asking her for coffee, Anne?
Like, there's just some wild lines in here. They're like, man, the implications of this are something. Anyway, basically, they have a good time. They finally land the airplane, and Julia Roberts goes home to see her man, and Bradley Cooper actually gives her his personal limousine so she can get there faster.
Which is very sweet of him.
Okay, so we've done the thing that this film has done, which is left all of the conclusions off to the last moment. Shall we take the same ones that So do you want to do best friends?
Kutcher and Garner end up getting together because at some point Jennifer Garner realized she was actually in love with her best friend. Their respective partners are either dumped or want them back. I thought this was one of the horse shit endings.
It wasn't incredible.
If you were going to get engaged that morning and you're making out with your best friend...
But listen, I am 100% able to suspend my disbelief because this is a rom-com with a very silly premise.
That's fair. I could not for this specific one.
And also, one of my favorite lines in this movie is here because, like, he, at the end of the day, right, he's got all these, like, dead flowers or the flowers that didn't sell. And he's, like, standing on a bridge that's over, like, a river or something. And he is throwing the heads of the flowers into this river. And Garner walks up to Kutcher and she's like, what are you doing? He's like, well, I'm giving these flowers, a second chance. Like, they weren't wanted by anybody. Normally, sometimes you'd throw them out, but I just like the idea that somebody will take this flower, they'll see this, this blossom and be like, oh, I want to keep this. And like, that really worked for me. I really like the sentiment of a guy trying to, even how silly it is, like trying to save the heads of flowers, even though I don't think that's how flowers work.
There are a couple of moments in this movie, and this was one of them, where I felt like genuinely old, where I really felt like I'm aging. And this was one of them because he was doing that, and I was sitting there, head in hands, going, "Oh my God, but I don't think those roses are native to California. What happens when they get in the water supply? Are the ducks?
Oh my God.
Are the ducks gonna be okay if they like eat one? Is it gonna do it like that?" That is where I'm. And the same thing when Jennifer Gardner was like, Jennifer Garner was like gonna hop on a plane. She's like, "I'm gonna go see my boyfriend in San Francisco." And I was like, what were the flights like back then? Were they that affordable that an elementary school teacher could just hop on a plane day in, day out?
That's a pretty good thing.
I'm aging, Aaron.
Listen, you gotta worry about practical and ecological concerns once you near 30.
Yeah, it's the worst. Anyway, you want to talk about how the teens end up?
Yeah, so grandpa, grandson, teens. So Elizondo, who's the grandpa, he meets up with Topher Grace, who, walked out of the, after having the fight with Anne Hathaway, he walked into this cinema thing because they were going to go watch a movie together. But like Elizondo and Topher end up going to, watch this movie, and they have a talk about the importance of staying committed in a relationship, even when you're unsure. McLean, the grandma, shows up, and she's like, "You know what? Hector Elizondo, I did cheat on you once, and that doesn't matter because we love each other." And at this point, my marriage and family therapist wife said, "That's I don't like that. That's horseshit because in relationships, the longer you go concealing a horrible secret, the worse it becomes." And like she didn't find that especially plausible, and I was like, "Yeah, this is pretty dog shit. They're not doing any work to get over this like terrible betrayal, but it's fine."
Yeah, and for the purposes of this movie, I was like, I get what this is shorthand for.
Right. Like that's the thing. Like you cannot actually get into the logistics of like having a like difficult and drawn out, reconciliation process in a 2-hour rom-com with a million fucking characters. Like, I'm here for it. I truly am. I'm just like, you know what? You need a shorthand for your storytelling, and that's fine. But anyway, they kiss and make up. The little boy Edison shows up at this party to give flowers to who other but Jennifer Garner, his teacher.
I should have seen this coming because he was a fucking narc.
Yes, that's he tells all his classmates to settle down when they're being loud. It's like, oh, that's the hint, is that he's in love with his teacher, which is very funny because he's a little shit. But anyway, he's like, I love you so much. And she's like, "Hey, kid, I'm like way older than you." And he's like, "Yeah, but, is that a problem?" She's like, "Yes, legally, morally, ethically, spiritually, kind of a deal breaker, but your classmate Rodney, she's over there, and she's super into you. There's also an Indian wedding because she's at the I Hate Valentine's Day party right now, but it's also in the same venue as like this Indian restaurant. So there's like an Indian wedding going on, and she points Edison over to Rodney, and he gives her these like super nice flowers, and it's very sweet. Sure. Anyway. Also, the teens, Emma Roberts and Jenkins, don't end up having sex. They are just like, you know what? We can love each other, but not also have to have sex when we go off to college because we care about each other. And when I watched this movie, I was still very Catholic, so I was like, that's right. That is how this plot line should have ended. This is moral.
Yes. Yes. Well, like I said, everyone in this movie is Christian unless loudly specified otherwise.
Yes, that is true. Do you want to talk about the football arc?
Yeah, so Topher Grace shows up at Anne Hathaway's apartment and apologizes for being a dick. They fuck. This is another one of those where I was like, fine, I'll buy into it. He made her a cute little collage.
The collage was nice.
But in real life, this would have been a longer conversation.
Well, in real life, this is just, they've been together for 2 weeks. Like, this is just a breakup. Like,
yeah, this is just a you're an asshole. But I mean, I feel like statistically, most more men nowadays would have less of a problem with their girlfriend doing some sort of like non-committal, non-physical, like phone sex operation type thing on the side.
100%, right? Like you're a weirdo if you're that bothers you.
Yeah, like if your partner doesn't care and they're just doing it as a job, it's fine. But yeah, so Jessica Biel and Jamie Foxx hit it off at the I Hate Valentine's Day party. They have a cute little thing at the TV studio. Eric Dane is met at home by Bradley Cooper, who was the partner in question. Whoa! And so
there are gay people in this.
Bradley Cooper saw he came out. He forgives him, wants to get back together with him. But very interesting that during this little scene where everyone else is kissing, the men were not allowed to.
They do not kiss.
It's 2010, baby.
Yeah, listen, I watched for that too because I was like, there's no way they made out, right? Yeah. And like, listen,
they don't get
I don't know anything about the politics or, personal preferences of these two actors. I wonder if they were like, hey, I'm not going to kiss a man in this role.
I don't think the studio would have gone for it.
Really?
I don't even think it was on the table.
Interesting.
I genuinely, I don't even think there was a question, a discussion, anything. Yeah.
I mean, I definitely trust your judgment, but like, it is just so interesting, right? I've been on Twitter, and today a trending topic is like, oh, everybody's talking about how sex scenes are unnecessary, right? This happens like once every 10 days, and like, it is just wild to see how 13 years ago, like two men kissing was like outright, banned by studios. Like that's really something just to see how far we've come.
Yeah, I genuinely don't think that this was even like on the table for them. Maybe they would have been uncomfortable with it, but you know what? We've come such a long way that who was it? Ryan Deadpool. What's his name?
Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds and Andrew Garfield like made out at an awards show as a joke. Like we're things are a little bit easier now.
That's nice.
Not easy. But there's been strides. I think we can acknowledge that. Queen Latifah gets a call from one of Anne Hathaway's phone sex clients, the Russian kinky one. I thought this was very funny. I
laughed a lot at this.
Queen Latifah is so fucking funny. The only thing that
would I have put this in the movie today? No, but I did laugh a lot.
Listen, it was very funny. Here's my problem. My problem was that why didn't Queen Latifah get to fuck anyone? It's because she's fat,
right?
Garry Marshall. This is another one of those like 2010s things. You know what I mean? Like everyone in this movie is so delectably white hot, and I'm like, please,
right?
I beg of thee. You want to talk about?
The joke that she says when she's talking to the man, because like Anne Hathaway's been doing like a Russian Tsarina like role play with him throughout the course of this movie, but then she's like, oh well, you don't know love until you've been with a real African queen. And then she says very loudly in a commanding voice, kneel before Nzinga, which is very funny, but also like, I don't know, she's the only black woman character in this movie. Like, I don't feel great about laughing about that. Like, it is definitely a joke of the type. We watched Cog on Bible Boys last week, and they had a similar joke where it's like, there's the one black character in this movie makes a joke about how, or like it just goes on the screen. It's like, look, laugh at the funny black lady. So like, I don't know. I think that Queen Latifah could have done whatever the fuck she wanted in this movie, except for maybe, I think you're right that maybe there was some hesitation about pairing her up because she is a larger woman, which is unfortunate. But I don't think that she made this. I think she was happy to make this joke.
The line itself, I don't know how I feel about, but her delivery of that line.
Oh, it's great.
Incredible. She is such a great comedic actress. I think there is something so revolutionary to me about Queen Latifah, because when I was growing up, Queen Latifah as Mama Morton in Chicago, when she gets to be like sexy and big and brassy and fun. And then she also had a run of rom-coms where she did actually get to make out with someone. Changed my brain chemistry. Thank you, Queen Latifah. She's the best. I love her.
Shout outs. The plane arc is pretty straightforward. We already talked about how Bradley Cooper went home to his boyfriend Dane. Turns out Julia Roberts, the captain, her man that she's going back home to is actually her son, Edison, and she tucks him in for bed and says Happy Valentine's Day, and it's cute. It's completely fine.
like we said, it was alluded that Edison's mom is like straight up dead. Nope. It's Julia Roberts.
Nope, she's just doing war crimes.
Oh my god. Also, there's a mid-credit scene, I guess.
I didn't see this, so what happens?
Julia Roberts is in the limo, and the limo driver's like asking her, they're like driving past Rodeo Drive, and he's like, oh, have you ever actually shopped on Rodeo? And she goes, I did actually one time. Big mistake. Big, huge, which is a reference to Pretty Woman.
Ah, I see.
When she goes shopping on Rodeo, and the ladies are really mean to her, and they kick her out of the store the first time, I think, and then she comes back with the money from Richard Gere. I think that's who's in that movie, right?
Yeah,
and
I think
so when they're like have to be nice to her the second time, she has the credit card. She's like, big mistake, big, huge.
Very fun. Very fun.
Speaking of problematic movies, I love rom-coms of that era. Mwah, they're everything to me. I know they're terrible, but like I grew up on them, so I can't help it.
What are you gonna do? I hope the listeners are gonna be the ones who have to judge, but I feel like that was about as comprehensible as we could have made that.
Honestly, I think you did a great job writing that up.
Yeah. It was a lot. It was a lot of IMDb and Wikipedia and just confusing people with J names, but we did it. Leyla, how do you feel about this structure, as this interlocking character structure? Because, like, I think that it is difficult to parse in many ways, but also, like, in this film, I feel like it works more often than it doesn't.
I think that if you wanted to apply this structure to like a big sweeping like fantasy franchise or something, it would not work for anybody but the most hardcore of fans who are like willing to do homework. But if you want to stick a bunch of like jarringly recognizable celebrities to the point where you don't remember their character name, you only remember their name in association with their face into a movie like this, I think it makes it a lot easier for me to keep track of. Like, I don't know where Aragorn, son of Arathorn's going, but I sure can know an Ashton Kutcher when I see him.
That's a really good point. This is a thing that I bring up a lot with nouns in fantasy, which is like, if your noun is not like something that I'm already aware of, it really hurts my ability to read your book. But yeah, that's a really good point. Is if you just throw a bunch of like faces that everyone already knows, it's like, oh, okay, I can keep track of these people because I already know who they are. That's a really good point. And yeah, like I think there are some books that do this. I think I talk about fondly all the time. I think the Greenbone saga, it's not quite nearly as many characters, but there are a lot of characters that like are pretty relevant to the plot in many ways. I think Fondly does a good job of that, but like it's very hard to do. And I'm impressed. I think this movie nailed it more or less.
Yeah, I mean, like, listen, this movie was made not for critical consumption. This movie was made for a bunch of ladies in the like 32 to 48 age bracket who know all these celebrities, who read all the gossip mags, who could get the meta commentary about Taylor Swift from their daughter. It's for them to come have a good time in the movie theater or on their couch after this is playing on pay-per-view for 90 minutes where their kids don't bother them and they don't have to pay attention all the way because they don't need to know Ashton Kutcher's character name. They just need to know that he wants to get married and then did not get married, and oh no, what are we going to do now?
Yeah.
And that's beautiful, I think. I think we need more movies like this. Just fluffy nothing. It's great. R.I.P. Garry Marshall. You were a fucking legend.
You got to hand it to the man. Leyla, if we were, however, going to try to create something similar to this, where we just had, minimum 20, maximum 50 characters, how would we structure this? What would we need? What are the resources we need? What's his name? Michael Eisner. Just keep taking notes while you're listening. I know you're out there. But yeah, this is going to be our next property that Disney will probably fund, because clearly, as we've made reference to in this episode, their production pipeline can handle the logistics of this sort of thing.
Apropos that you summoned Michael Eisner to listen to us, I think, Aaron, it's time. I think we need to start pitching the Organization 13 rom-com miniseries, the live-action adaptation.
Oh my god, that would be really good.
It would be really good is the thing, because it's essentially an office comedy.
Oh my god, yeah, no, we really just do like a sitcom, office comedy with Organization 13, and occasionally Haley Joel Osment shows up and like murders someone. But oh god, we gotta have it's Justin Timberlake, right, who does Roxas?
No.
No, it's not.
It's Jesse McCartney.
So, I'm sorry, Mr. McCartney. I'm so sorry. It's been a while.
How could you forget him and his beautiful soul?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Well, he doesn't have one in Organization 13.
No, but he does. That is the name of his album that I played on repeat in the early 2000s.
Good Lord. Well, yeah, no, I think we have to get as many celebrities as we can. To God, who plays Xemnas? Which celebrity are we getting to play Xemnas?
I mean, it has to be somebody with like a steel-cut jaw and who was willing to really buy into the bit.
God.
What if Christian Bale?
Christian Bale could do it, right? He did Batman, right? It's very similar.
He also did American Psycho, which is very similar.
Again, very similar to Xemnas.
Can we pull Vin Diesel in to play the guy with the axe whose name I never remember?
Oh, yeah. Alexeus. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because all he needs to be is, like, say very few words and be very muscular. That's easy.
The emo scientist, easy, Timothée Chalamet.
Timmy Chalamet is a little waif of a man doing evil science. Zexion is who would be, obviously.
Yeah, obviously. I think it's great. Obviously, Jesse McCartney to play Roxas. Obviously.
I have a cursed pitch for Demix.
Oh, Lord.
Which is Josh Gad.
I think it's good, though, is the problem.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Oh, my God.
Oh, God. Organization 13's good, actually. It's just that they never talk about how good they are in the games.
I really, 358/2, I think, is actually one of my top 3 Kingdom Hearts games.
It's really good. I'm going to get you a DS and that game so you can play it, because it is not an especially fun game, but God, you get to learn about those characters.
I love each and every single one of them. They're so incredible. Even the ones whose names I don't remember, they have memorable designs, and that's fine.
God, Kingdom Hearts is good.
Kingdom Hearts is good. So I think that's our pitch to Mr. Michael Eisner. I think we really just go in on a limited series. I'm talking 2 seasons.
Oh yeah, it doesn't have to be longer than that.
Mm-hmm. We just get in there. We put as many recognizable faces as we can, and then we.
Sykes and Axel's love story is probably the main crux, and I guess Jesse McCartney.
Yes, because they definitely dated.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's good. That's real good. And then that's how we lead into the Kingdom Hearts 1 or 2 live action, whatever they're doing over there at Disney, allegedly.
Yeah, and we put that Canadian dollar store wig that Marty found
100%.
on Haley Joel Osment. Great.
Oh, God. Leyla, we are not, again, making Disney the best, incrediblest, most profitable, most beloved media pitches of all time. Where can we be found on the internet? You
can find me at LEYLSCS on Twitter and Tumblr, mostly Tumblr. I am just working a lot recently. I don't know if any of my games colleagues listen to this, but I'll be at GDC in March. Looking forward to seeing the ocean again. Aaron, where are you?
I'm at AaronSXL on Twitter and at aavoigt.com. Where I tweet about tabletop RPGs, health policy, and writing. And I also do a YouTube channel that's at AA Voigt on YouTube, where I review tabletop games. I do another podcast that's at The Bible Boys with my friends Michael and Josh. I think we're talking about the Bible mini-series that the History Channel did. I still got to watch that, but that should be weird and interesting. So that'll be a little bit of a lighthearted one, so please check that out. Our theme song is Obsolete by Keshko from the album Filmmakers Reference Kit Volume 2, and you can find more of their music at keshko.bandcamp.com. Leyla, how should we close off this Valentine's Day?
Oh, well, I don't know. I gotta go, because I'm always preparing for the worst. It's that immigrant mentality.
Thank you. We'll see you all next week.